Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, double honors to the apostles and the others great millstone. Shalom to the elect. Ba'Shem R'cha. My name is Yacobo from Plaintables camp, and he doeth great wonders. And one of his wonders, he calls fire to come down from heaven. And another wonder was the brain implant, which can cause people to interface with technology by thought, and they can restore your walking, your sight, your control of your limbs, arms, fingers, by using that spinal bypass technology. And Elon Musk is one of the leading companies, and there are other companies, but he's the most popular because he's popular in with technology. But there are several companies doing it now. The microchip implant that lets you pay with your hand. I think I've done videos on this particular article here. It's straightforward. I really don't got to read anything. I mean, by now you should know that the near field communication, NFC, is already widely available pretty much in every payment processing. They have the option to either swipe or bring the debit or credit card near it. So that same technology, the RFID tag or chip, it's in the card, can easily be put into a cylindrical or flat microchip and put into your hand. All right, so this article is from April 10th, 2022. All right. Right there, that's the reader. All right, that's the chip that's in his left hand. So the implant can go in your left or right hand or anywhere. All right, so the miracles are the ability to bypass your spine that has been damaged, so now you can walk again, you can see again, and other bypass technologies. That's part of the miracles. Now it names the miracle of fire being brought down from heaven, but that's just only one miracle. All right, you look up a miracle. Well, it says a microchip was first implanted into a human back in 1998, but it is only during the past decade that the technology has been available commercially. All right, here's some pictures for you. All right, let's go. Let's see. It's near field, so you go near it and it debits. So that is put into. It's the same technology in a chip, so your hand goes near the reader, and it authenticates whatever you're doing, and you can go past the checkpoint, or it's connected to your debit or credit card, and you're able to make the purchase. So here, Revelation 13:13, and he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. All right, so that's one wonder. Other wonders are already the spinal bypass technology. All right, but it mentions one here, which is the missile technology that NATO, American and European forces have the ability to do, and through that missile technology, they wage war with other nations, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and he deceiveth them that dwell on earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do on the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on earth that they should make an image of the beast, which had a wound by the sword and did live. All right. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. All right. So the image of the beast is what? The implant. All right. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right. So what is the image of the beast it's an implant chip. All right, and through that chip, you can buy and sell. All right. Other uses for the chip is the spinal bypass. This is Christianity Today. So when you read the article, the Christianity Today, the guy that's interviewing Arba, however you pronounce his name, is not really for or against. It's more takes a neutral stance. Meet the Christian cyborg who named his brain chip Eve. So Elon Musk's first Neuralink recipient is a believer both in God and in the future of cybernetic enhancement. So if you didn't know that, now you do. He's a Christian. Nolan Arbo, so let's just call him Nolan, a 30-year-old Christian, became the first human recipient of Neuralink brain machine interface chip. In 2018, a spinal cord injury from a swimming incident left Nolan with quadriplegia. Quadriplegia. Able to breathe and speak, but unable to move his arms and legs. Now with a Neuralink implant nicknamed Telepathy, Nolan can control a computer cursor just by imagining movement, allowing him to play chess and engage with others on social media. All right. So if y'all brothers didn't know that Nolan is a Christian, so they don't believe that you have to keep, certain laws cutting into your flesh. All right. Now he's going to have to take additional, implants when this becomes mandatory. All right, because the MOTB is the mandatory implementation of the implants. All right. So he has to bring the technology. So if they can't scan that brain chip, then he's going to have to get another chip. All right. And, when it actually is mandatory, they're going to have, rules and guidelines, laws around, placement, the technology. When that becomes mandatory, they'll, have to come up with all those rules and regulations. Right now, it's pretty much deregulated, but it is FDA approved. So in a way, it is regulated. But when it's mandatory, and more legislation will come about, whether it's actually legal according to your government's laws or not. It's what can be enforced. That's what's actually legal, not whether it's against the Constitution or against your local government's laws or your rights. It's what's enforced. That's what's legal. All right. And that's what matters, how it's enforced. So if it's not enforced, it don't mean nothing. But the Bible say it's going to be enforced by penalty of death if you don't take it. All right. The brain chip bypasses Nolan's damaged nervous system and transmits movement related to signals to Nolan's computers, where a supercomputer processes the data and translates his thoughts into actions, while the implant enables Nolan to interact with technology in groundbreaking ways. It only sends data out of his brain. It cannot receive or modify input. Oh, so it sends data out. It only sends data out of his brain. The implant chip. It cannot receive or modify input. Well, maybe that may be coming soon. I'm not sure exactly what that means, though. And so, as he thinks, the chip transmits to the external computer. But, inception. I think that's what they're talking about. So the computer can't send, well, I don't know. They may be lying about that. It only sends out data to its brain. It cannot receive or modify input. So if that were possible, that means the computer can modify your thoughts or tell you stuff. So it's a one-way street, which I don't fully believe that, but I would think that they would be able to project images, thoughts into your brain through the chip. All right, so that's they're saying that, but wouldn't it be a great benefit, a miracle, if you could learn really fast? If the chip was a two-way street, the supercomputer could, instead of just receiving signals from the chip from your brain, supercomputer can pull signals, bring signals in through the brain chip into your brain, from the supercomputer to the chip that's implanted into the brain. You know, like the Matrix, Neo went into the training program. He injected that spike into his brain, and he downloaded know how to fight. Trinity on the bike highway scene, downloaded into her how to drive that bike, and yeah. And the keymaker gave her the key. All right, let's move along. Tell me a bit about yourself and where you come from. I am from a small city called Yuma, Arizona. It's basically in the middle of the desert. It was always hot there. I grew up in a non-denominational church, around 2,000 members. My mom started going to a church here when I was a little kid. I worked with her. I worked at a summer camp for kids, college. How did the incident change your faith? Within the first year, how did your accident change your faith, your life in faith? With the first year of my accident, I had just met someone, and the first thing he asked me was, "Do you ever consider suicide?" Wait, what? Within the first year after my accident, I had just met someone, and the first thing he asked me was, "Do you ever consider suicide?" I think it's a valid question for someone in my position. What do you mean you met someone? I had just met someone, and the first thing he asked me, I mean, is he a sodomite? What do you mean by met someone? Nolan Arbo. Nolan is a man, right? Wait a minute. Is the first patient for Neuralink a gay man? According to available information, the first Neuralink patient, Nolan, is not publicly identified as a gay man. The focus of his identity primarily has been on his status of a quadriplegic man who received a brain implant due to a spinal cord. In an article, Nolan says he met a man and asked him, did he commit suicide? Is this his husband or boyfriend? Okay, maybe that was too complicated. Okay, so I guess we can extrapolate that he is a sodomite based upon the Christian Today. So y'all reading the same thing I read, right? So this is getting even more disgusting. When the first year after my accident, I had just met someone, and the first thing he asked me was, do you ever, keyword, words are important, do you ever consider suicide? So if he means his sexual partner, his life partner, his husband, boyfriend, or he just means a friend. But it looks like you don't just meet a friend, and that's an odd way to phrase a sentence. So I'm gonna assume he's a sodomite. Do you ever consider suicide? I think it's a valid question for someone in my position. A lot of people struggle with whether or not it's even worth living at this point. I need someone to help me with just about everything in my life. I'm an incredible burden on those around me. What did movie V for Vendetta label those people that were being experimented on? Disease-ridden degenerates. He said homosexuals, Muslims, disease-ridden degenerates. Strength through unity, unity through faith. So he's a God-fearing Englishman. He's proud of it. We'll check the movie out. V for Vendetta. I've been increasingly blessed with family. Okay, so I'll leave the article in the description box. Get a precept real quick. Look up Leviticus 19:28. Says, "Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am Yahweh." All right. So it doesn't matter if it's for the dead or if it's to comply with currently existing technology for payments and processings, or to make your limbs work again. You're not supposed to make cuttings in your flesh for religious reasons, or to walk again through modern technology. The law is against making cuttings in your flesh for religious ritual reasons. It's not just for the dead, honoring the dead. All right. "Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am Yahweh." All right. Because what the prophets of Baal, they were cutting themselves in Elijah. During the time of Elijah, the 400 prophets of Baal. All right. Now, were they committing a sin by cutting themselves? Yes. And this what would cover it. Leviticus 19:28. All right, whether they were just doing it for a god or not for a god. All right. If they were just there and they weren't prophets of Baal, they were Israelites. Just one day they said, "You know what? I'm gonna see what's inside of my flesh. Let me start cutting it open." All right. This law will cover it. All right. It's not just for the dead. It was worded that way because that was one of the main issues. The technology hadn't been invented yet. All right. But it covers cutting and making decisions in your flesh for every purpose, not just for the dead. All right. For now, the exception, I would say, if like you had to get amputated, if you were in an accident, or you got stabbed and your arm was withering away and it was affecting the rest of your body, then I could say, okay, you gotta cut that off, all right, to save the rest of your body. All right. But when it comes to like linking up with the miracles in the book of Revelation, that's why the scriptures say the law is spiritual, but we are carnal, sold under sin. So we know that in the future, this cutting is going to come in the form of the chip. All right. So this links up directly with Revelation 13. All right. And you got 8296 and 7085. So 8296 cuttings. Sharat, which means incision, a cut. All right. Incision or cut, so we're into the flesh. So ye shall not cut into the flesh. We got quai, and also an incision, an imprinted, a tattoo, a mark. All right. Because the heathen would tattoo themselves, all right, with different pictures and words. All right. But to be devoted to a God, to receive some type of power from different spirits. So they would print pictures and words on their body. All right, and to do that, they would have to cut into their flesh. They had to make an incision in their flesh to make the mark permanent. All right. So today's mark, the charagma, that chip, you have to cut into your flesh to receive that mark. All right. So if you receive the implant chip, you'll be breaking the law of Leviticus 19:28 and the law of Yahushua, because he said that if you receive that cutting in your flesh, you're going to be destroyed. It tells you the penalty in the 14th chapter of Revelation. All right. So I'll skim through a little bit more of this article and then I'll close it up. All right. How has the whole process of getting an implant and meeting those people influenced your faith? It made me step out of my comfort zone quite a bit. I was always very afraid about excluding people from the process of offending people. I thought it was my responsibility to be a good advocate for Neuralink. Posting for the first time on X about my faith was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my life. Allegedly, he's a gay man, and he's cutting into his flesh as a Christian and received a microchip in his brain. I was more afraid than posting about my faith than I was about the brain surgery. I was more afraid about posting about my faith than I was about the brain surgery? Really? I would think the faith would be conflict. So it shows you that the Christians don't believe taking the chip. The anti-Christians don't believe taking the chip is against, Yahushua's law. All right, and it tells you clearly in Revelation 13 or the book of Revelation, the will of Yahushua, which he gets from the Father. All right, the law of Yahushua. All right, you had the law that was handed down to the Israelites. We kept to the best of our ability, and we keep to the best of our ability today. Although we're in captivity, so it's impossible, and we're in the flesh, so it's impossible to keep perfectly. And we have the law of Yahushua, which it says that if you take this cutting in your flesh, all right, when it's mandatory, and it's breaking the law, all right. So we still follow the law of Leviticus 19, all right. Even though we have Yahushua's law, we still follow that law, so we're not going to get any cuttings in our flesh, especially if it is involved with worshiping a god or being a miracle. All right, like to repair our bodies. All right, that's part of those miracles spoken about Revelation 13. So we know it's directly linked with the MOTB. So the elect are going to be aware of that. Like, wait a minute, this is very close. You might be in a situation where you got to get blood drawn. You're still breaking the law, but Yahushua can forgive you for that. All right. Now you take the cuttings in the flesh and you get that implant, that you ain't gonna get forgiven for that, because it tells you what the penalty is. You're gonna drink the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture. The brain surgery was so simple. I noticed you named your implant Eve. Why is that? So we know the Christians are not following the law that was given to the Israelites to separate us from the nations and to keep us clean and healthy. That's what the law is given. Not so it's always a burden, we can't keep it. No, it was to keep us alive and clean and healthy. There was a few. All right, I noticed your name. So he named the implant. Here were a few. Oh, the movie Wally. Yeah, I remember that. The female. The quasi-female robot. Here were a few different reasons why I chose the name Eve. I've always loved the name Yeah, you can't pronounce that. Geneve. Forgive my pronunciation. All right, Google's not bringing it up. All right, and then there's Wally and Eve, or Eva. So I thought that's kind of cute, being robotic and everything. Okay, you gotta watch the movie. Basically, the Earth people got fat. The Earth was being destroyed, I believe, because of like waste. Was it air pollution? Like waste and air pollution and trash. And they left Earth, and they had machines do everything for them, and everybody got really fat. That was a really spiritual, heavy movie. So they escape Earth, and everybody got fat, and they depend on machines. I gotta watch the movie again to get all the details. All right, and Eve was one of was a so-called female machine. That Wally was supposed to be male, I guess. He was left on Earth to clean up the trash and recycle, I think. Wally. And the Eve was one of the robots that came back to Earth to see if it was inhabitable again for humans. So also, we are on the eve of something great with Neuralink. Okay. So he's being, he's speaking in parables also. So that's the article. Christians don't really. So the article is pretty neutral. He's like interviewing him, asking him questions. So the author of the interview, interviewed by Mike Hermson. Forgive my pronunciation again. Hermson doesn't really he takes a neutral stance on receiving the incisions in the flesh. All right, but we know, according to the scriptures, that this is the miracle, or one of the miracles, that's brought on by the image of the beast, which is the implant technology. All right, and this, when it's mandatory, that's when it's the mark of the beast. Now, if it's not mandatory, you can say it's not the mark of the beast, but it's still in violation of the law. All right. Now, the Edomites, they're not under the laws, so they're going to go into slavery no matter what. All right. So the laws for the Israelites. So if you're an Israelite, you take the cuttings in your flesh, you're breaking the law. All right. And it's also the law of Yahweh Shai. It's not separate. All right. And you can't be forgiven for breaking this law. All right. The law of Yahweh Shai. All right. And it's also the law that was given to Israel. So you're breaking both. All right. And they're the same law. Right. Just Yahweh Shai understood that we were going to be in slavery, in a system that we weren't raised in. So when we commit certain sins, we are forgiven for them. All right. If we come to the knowledge of the truth. All right. And be born again. Charagma, which means a mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as a badge of the followers of the Antichrist. A mark branded upon horses. A sculpted figure, so we know a badge of servitude, so we know a scratch, an etching, so we know this mark is going in the body. And it's unique, so we can buy and sell. So we believe it's the MOTB, the mark of the beast, the implant chip. All right, and Elon Musk technology, which, remember, Elon Musk is a businessman. He's not a neurosurgeon. He's not an electrical engineer. He's a businessman. All right, so he basically he's organizer. He puts smart people together, people that are experts in things, and he gives them money, and they design things for him. All right. So Elon Musk is not an electrical engineer, to my knowledge, nor is he a neurosurgeon, to my knowledge. He's a businessman. All right. Charagma. And I'll end it with Isaiah 33:6. So it's And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. So we know that it's a fine line between, getting blood drawn, getting your limbs amputated, and getting a microchip installed in your brain so you can walk again, and putting a microchip in your hand or arm so you can make payments with. That's the line. The latter two, it's all against the law, but the law that you won't be forgiven from is a latter two, and it's going to come into full fruition when it's mandatory. All right. So let me get the penalty real quick. I'll do the penalty so you can see that. And so you go to the 14th chapter, and doom for the worshippers of the beast. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or his hand. All right, in his forehead or his hand. Khair or khair. Agency. Okay. By helping agency. All right. Apply with symbolic might, power, creative sense, hand. Determining and controlling the destinies of men. So it's beyond just your physical hands. All right. Let's look up outline of biblical usage. Whose fan is in his hand? All right. I mean, power to do something. All right. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off. So it's not necessarily talking about your hands, your power to do something. All right. And here talking about your physical hand, and Yahushua put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will be thou clean, and immediately his leprosy was cleansed. All right. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the physical hand. All right. It's basically the ability or power to do something. Hand. It's in the power's in your hand. All right. So, literally or figuratively. Power. Oh, right there says it. Grasping the hand, literally or figuratively, power. All right. So, by means of anyone, by the help or agency of one, and controlling and determining and controlling the destinies of men. So basically, you have the power to do something. All right. And receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. All right. So power. So anywhere in your body. That's what that means. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the power, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of his holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb. So if you take that implant chip, if you in the place where the destruction is going to happen at, you'll receive that. Now, if you're in a place where the destruction is not going to happen at, where the fire is going to come down and burn you up, then you won't receive it. All right. The nuclear fire. Now, the other torment is slavery. All right. So if you're of another nation, because the Israelites are not going to receive the torment of slavery. All right. If they take the chip, but the heathen, if you're in a place where the fire is going to come down and destroy the land, you're going to receive the torment by fire, torment by slavery, and fire and brimstone if you're in a place where the fire is going to come down at. Mainly America and the land of Israel. All right. If you're in that land, you're going to receive, no matter what nation you're from, you're going to receive the torment of fire and brimstone. All right. Now, if you're not within the borders of where the fire is going to come down at, and you're of another nation, you'll receive the torment, all right, in slavery. because when the other nations are in slavery, they're going to be tormented. All right. So it says, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the power, which is poured out without mixture into a cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the fire and brimstone is only going to come down on certain places on the earth. So they don't receive the torment through those two main areas. They're going to receive the torment in slavery. All right. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So these are referring to the other nations. All right. That are going to be in slavery. So this torment here is the torment of slavery. Now, if you're an Israelite and you take the chip, you're not going to receive the torment of slavery. All right. So these other nations that accept that implant chip are going to receive torment in slavery. All right. Because the fire is not going to consume the whole earth. It's only going to consume Babylon, America, and the land of Israel. All right. And the land of Israel is going to be rebuilt. All right. Here is the patience of the saints, 14:12. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Yahweh and the faith of Yahushua. So we know that the anti-Christians don't believe in keeping the commandments. So this is allegedly a gay man that has received the implant chip in his brain. So you receive it anywhere, all right, it's considered the implant chip. Now, when it's mandatory, it's the MOTB, the mark of the beast. All right. So he has that brain chip and other chips. When it's mandatory, he's effectively has the mark of the beast. All right. And it tells you clearly here that the saints keep the commandments and the faith of Yahushua. So to the best of our ability, when we're in the flesh, we keep the commandments of the Most High. All right. And Yahushua's faith, don't take the cuttings in your flesh. All right. The charagma, the badge of servitude. All right. A scratch etching in your flesh. All right. How else are you going to know that you have the actual mark? All right. So that's the faith. All right. We believe. So the elect, the saints, the true saints, the Israel of the Most High, are not going to be tormented in that fire and brimstone. All right. And the other nations, they'll be tormented in slavery. All right. So that's the meaning on that. So I'll leave that there. Hope you're edified. Shalom.